Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily English Dialogues YouTube channel. I'm your host, Anna.
And I'm Mark. It is great to be back with you all today. If you are new here, this is the place where we have natural, interesting conversations to help you improve your English listening and vocabulary skills.
Exactly. We take real-life topics and break them down so you can learn how to express yourself better. Today, we have a really important topic to discuss. It is something that I think everyone struggles with at some point in their life.
That's right. Today we are talking about focusing on yourself. In a world that is so connected and so fast-paced, it is very easy to lose track of who you are and what you want.
So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's conversation.
You know, Anna, when we decided on this topic, focusing on yourself, I immediately thought about social media. I feel like that is the biggest obstacle or barrier to focusing on ourselves these days.
Oh, absolutely. It's the comparison trap. You open Instagram or TikTok, and within 5 seconds, you see someone on a luxury vacation, someone getting a promotion, or someone buying a new house.
Right. And even though we know logically that people only post their highlights, the best moments of their lives, emotionally it still affects us. You start thinking, why aren't I doing that? Am I falling behind?
That phrase, falling behind, is interesting. It implies that life is a race. But focusing on yourself means realizing that life isn't a competition against others, it's a journey with yourself. But Mark, to be honest, do you struggle with this?
I do. For example, last year a lot of my friends were getting married and buying apartments. I'm still renting, and I'm single. For a while, I felt really insecure. I felt like I wasn't successful because I wasn't ticking those boxes.
That is a great use of the phrase ticking the boxes. It means completing the standard requirements. But Mark, did you actually want to buy a house at that moment, or did you just feel pressure?
That's the key question. When I really sat down and reflected, I realized I didn't want a mortgage yet. I wanted to travel, I wanted to invest in my hobbies, but the noise from the outside world made it hard to hear my own thoughts.
Exactly. That noise is what we need to filter out. Focusing on yourself is about turning down the volume of other people's opinions so you can hear your own voice. It requires a lot of self-awareness.
Self-awareness is a great B2 vocabulary word. It means having a clear perception of your personality, feelings, and motives. But Anna, how do we actually start doing that? It's easier said than done.
I think the first practical step is setting boundaries. This is crucial. If you focus on everyone else's needs, you have no energy left for yourself.
Oh, the art of saying no. I am terrible at this. I'm a classic people pleaser. If a friend asks me for a favor or if my boss asks me to stay late, I almost always say yes, even if I am exhausted.
Being a people pleaser is tough, but think about it this way. Whenever you say yes to something you don't want to do, you are actually saying no to yourself. You're saying no to your rest, your hobbies, or your mental health.
That is a powerful perspective. I never thought about it like that. So focusing on yourself isn't about being selfish, it's about self-preservation.
Precisely. There's a big difference between being selfish and looking after your well-being. Selfish means you don't care about others. Self-care, or focusing on yourself, means you treat yourself with value. You cannot pour from an empty cup, Mark.
You cannot pour from an empty cup. I love that idiom. It means you can't help others if you are depleted or burned out yourself. So Anna, have you had to set some hard boundaries recently?
Yes. Last month, I was invited to 3 different social events on the same weekend. In the past, I would have tried to go to all of them. I would have been tired and grumpy. But this time, I chose one event and I politely declined the others. I spent Sunday reading a book and prepping for the week.
And how did you feel on Monday?
I felt refreshed. I felt ready to work. By focusing on my need for rest, I was actually a better friend and a better worker during the week.
Let's shift the conversation a little bit to career and personal growth. This is a huge part of our lives, right? We spend 40 hours a week, or sometimes more, at work, so focusing on yourself has to include your professional life.
Absolutely. But Mark, I think people misunderstand what focusing on yourself means in a career context. Usually, people think it means being competitive, fighting for a promotion, or trying to beat your colleagues.
That's the old way of thinking. That's the rat race.
Exactly. The rat race. That's a great idiom. It describes an exhausting competitive routine that has no end. But focusing on yourself is actually about looking inward. It's asking, am I growing? Am I learning? Is this work meaningful to me?
I think a big barrier to this kind of growth is something called imposter syndrome. Have you ever felt that, Anna?
Oh, definitely. Imposter syndrome is that feeling where you doubt your accomplishments. You feel like a fraud, like you don't actually know what you're doing, and you're terrified everyone is going to find out.
It is so common, especially when you start a new job or get a promotion. You think, why did they hire me? I'm not good enough. But focusing on yourself means recognizing that voice in your head and challenging it.
Right. It's about separating feelings from facts. The fact is, you are hired because you have the skills. Focusing on yourself means trusting your own ability to learn. It's saying, I might not know the answer right now, but I am capable of figuring it out.
That is a very growth mindset approach. Instead of proving you were smart, you focus on getting smarter. This brings me to another point, skill development.
Yes! I feel like many people stop studying once they finish university, but the world changes so fast. If you aren't learning, you are falling behind.
But Anna, it can be overwhelming. There's so many things to learn. Coding, AI, languages, management. How do you choose what to focus on?
That's where self-awareness comes in again. You shouldn't just learn what is trendy. You should focus on the intersection of what you enjoy and what is valuable. For example, if you hate numbers, don't force yourself to become a data analyst just because it pays well. You will be miserable.
That is such good advice. Play to your strengths. I also think we need to talk about soft skills.
Oh, I love this topic. Hard skills are technical things, like using Excel or fixing a car, but soft skills are things like communication, empathy, and adaptability.
Exactly. And honestly, focusing on your soft skills is often the best investment you can make. You can be the best programmer in the world, but if you can't communicate your ideas or work in a team, your career will stall.
Stall. That means to stop making progress. That's true. For our listeners learning English, learning the language is a hard skill, but having the confidence to speak up in a meeting, that is a soft skill.
And that confidence comes from focusing on yourself, not on others' judgment. I remember early in my career, I stayed quiet in meetings because I was afraid of saying something stupid. I was focusing on their perception of me.
And what changed?
I realized that my perspective had value. I started focusing on the contribution I could make rather than my fear. It was a small shift, but it changed everything. I started speaking up, and my boss started noticing me.
That is powerful. It reminds me of the quote, comparison is the thief of joy. This applies to careers, too. We look at LinkedIn, and it seems like everyone is a CEO under the age of 30.
LinkedIn can be dangerous for your mental health if you're not careful. You see people posting about their big wins, and you feel inadequate.
Inadequate. That means feeling like you aren't good enough. But you have to remember, a career is a marathon, not a sprint. Some people peak early, some people peak later. Focusing on yourself means honoring your own timeline.
So, practically speaking, how do we invest in ourselves at work without burning out?
I think it comes down to micro-learning. You don't need to get a new master's degree. Can you listen to an educational podcast, like this one, on your commute? Can you read one article about your industry while you drink your morning coffee?
Small steps. I like that. Another practical tip is to ask for feedback. This is scary, but it's the fastest way to grow.
It is scary. Nobody likes to hear criticism.
True, but there is constructive criticism. If you go to your boss and say, I want to improve, what is one thing I can do better next month? It shows you are focused on self-improvement. It takes the ego out of the equation.
Taking the ego out of it. That is the key. When you focus on yourself in a healthy way, you're not doing it to show off. You're doing it to become a more capable, more useful, and more fulfilled person.
And that fulfillment spills over into your personal life too. When you feel competent at work, you feel happier at home.
There's another aspect of this topic that we simply have to discuss. It's the elephant in the room. When you start focusing on yourself, you inevitably spend more time alone, and for many people, that is terrifying.
The elephant in the room. Good idiom. It means an obvious problem that no one wants to talk about. And you're right, Anna. We are social animals. We are programmed to be in groups, so being alone often feels like something is wrong.
Exactly. But there's a crucial distinction we need to make here. The difference between loneliness and solitude. They look the same from the outside, you are by yourself, but they feel completely different on the inside.
Can you break that down for us?
Sure. Loneliness is a negative state. It's a feeling of isolation, of lacking something. It's when you want to be with others, but you aren't. It hurts.
Right. And solitude?
Solitude is positive. It is a state of being alone without being lonely. It's a choice. It's when you enjoy your own company and use that time to rest, think, or create. It's not about emptiness. It's about fullness.
I love that description. Solitude is about fullness, but in modern society, we seem to have lost the ability to just be alone. Have you noticed what people do the second they are alone in a waiting room or a cafe?
They pull out their phones immediately.
Yes, it's like a reflex. We use our phones as a shield. We're afraid that if we just sit there staring at the wall, people will think we're losers or that we have no friends, so we scroll through Instagram to look busy.
That is a crutch. We rely on it too much. But when you constantly distract yourself with a screen, you lose the opportunity for introspection.
Introspection. That is a solid B2, C1 word. It means the examination of your own mental and emotional processes, basically looking inside yourself.
Exactly. If you are always consuming content, videos, messages, news, you can never hear your own voice. Focusing on yourself requires silence. It requires you to sit with your thoughts, even the uncomfortable ones.
That is the scary part. Sometimes we stay busy because we don't want to face our thoughts. But Anna, let's talk about the social stigma. I think a lot of people are afraid to go to a restaurant or a cinema alone because they think everyone is judging them.
Oh, the dreaded spotlight effect.
Tell us about that.
The spotlight effect is a psychological phenomenon where we think everyone is paying attention to us, like there's a spotlight on us. But in reality, everyone is too worried about themselves to notice you.
I experienced this recently. I went to the cinema alone to see a movie I really wanted to watch. None of my friends were free. I almost didn't go because I felt awkward.
And what happened when you got there?
I bought my popcorn, I sat down, and I realized nobody cared. The couple next to me didn't look at me. The guy in the front row didn't point and laugh. I actually enjoyed the movie more because I didn't have to worry if my friend was liking it or not.
That is the freedom of solitude. You don't have to compromise. You can eat where you want, walk at your own pace, and leave when you are tired. It is incredibly liberating.
Liberating. That means freeing. So how can someone practice this if they're nervous?
Start small. You don't have to book a solo trip to Paris immediately. Start with a coffee date with yourself. Go to a cafe, leave your phone in your bag, and just drink your coffee for 20 minutes. People watch. Look out the window.
And if you feel panic rising?
Just breathe through it. Remind yourself, I am choosing this. I am my own best company. The more you do it, the more confident you become. You realize that you are enough.
I think that is the ultimate goal of focusing on yourself, reaching a place where you don't need other people to entertain you or validate you. You enjoy people, but you don't need them to survive emotionally.
Precisely. When you are comfortable in solitude, your relationships actually improve. You stop clinging to people out of fear, and you start choosing people out of love.
That is a beautiful sentiment. Solitude doesn't push people away, it prepares you to be better when you are with them.
We touched on this briefly earlier, but we really need to dive deeper into FOMO, the fear of missing out. I think this is the #1 enemy when you are trying to focus on yourself.
I completely agree. FOMO is basically a form of anxiety. It's that nagging feeling that others are having more fun, living better lives, or experiencing things that you aren't. It keeps you in a state of constant dissatisfaction.
It's interesting because back in the day, if your friends went to a party and you stayed home, you might feel a little bad, but you wouldn't see it. Now you open your phone and you see stories, photos, and videos in real time. You feel like you're being left behind.
Exactly. And it's not just about parties, it's about life milestones. You see people getting promoted, running marathons, or traveling to Bali. You start thinking, is my life boring? Am I doing enough?
That is the trap. We compare our behind the scenes, our messy, tired, normal lives with everyone else's highlight reel. We forget that social media is curated. Nobody posts a photo of themselves crying over a stressful deadline or cleaning the toilet.
Curated. That's a great word. It means carefully selected and organized. Because everything online is curated, FOMO is based on an illusion. But Mark, how do we fight this? Because the feeling is very real.
I think we have to embrace the opposite. Have you heard of JOMO?
Yes, the joy of missing out. I love this concept.
JOMO is about shifting your mindset. It's the satisfaction of knowing you are exactly where you need to be. It's about being present in your own life rather than wishing you were in someone else's.
It's about reclaiming your time. For example, let's say it's Friday night. You could go to a loud bar with people you don't really like just because you are afraid of missing out. Or you could stay home, cook a nice meal, and sleep early because you have a goal to go hiking on Saturday morning.
In that scenario, staying home isn't a loss, it's a choice, it's a trade-off.
Trade-off. That is a key vocabulary word here. It means accepting that to get one thing, you have to give up another. You can't have everything. If you say yes to the party, you are saying no to your energy and your morning hike.
Exactly. Focusing on yourself requires you to be comfortable with trade-offs. You have to realize that every time you disconnect from the world, you are reconnecting with yourself.
There's a famous saying, the grass is always greener on the other side. It means we always think other people have it better.
But there is an addition to that quote that I love. The grass is greener where you water it.
Oh, that is beautiful. So instead of staring at your neighbor's lawn, their life, you should focus on watering your own lawn, your life.
Precisely. If you spend all your time looking at what you're missing, your own life will wither. But if you invest that energy into your own hobbies, your own rest, and your own goals, your life becomes vibrant.
I also think we need to curate our digital environment. If following a certain influencer or friend makes you feel bad about yourself, unfollow them. You have that power.
That is such a simple but effective tip. Protect your mental space. If seeing someone's vacation photos makes you feel depressed about your budget, mute them for a while. It's not being mean, it's being protective of your focus.
And eventually, when you practice JOMO enough, you stop caring about what you're missing. You realize that the best event is the one you are creating for yourself, right here, right now.
It brings a sense of peace. You stop running a race against invisible competitors. You realize that you are the main character of your own movie, not an extra in someone else's. Okay, Anna, we have talked a lot about the philosophy and the mindset, but let's get down to business. As the idiom goes, this is where the rubber meets the road.
I like that idiom. It means the point where the theory becomes reality. So if our listeners want to start focusing on themselves today, what are the concrete steps?
Tool number 1, the brain dump. This is a specific type of journaling.
Oh, I do this. It's when you feel overwhelmed, so you take a piece of paper and write down everything that is in your head. Every worry, every task, every random thought.
Exactly. You don't worry about grammar or spelling. You just get the mental clutter out of your head and onto the paper. Once it's written down, it stops swirling around in your brain. It gives you immediate clarity.
It's so effective. It's like cleaning your room, but for your mind. Tool number 2, implement a digital sunset.
A digital sunset? I haven't heard that term before.
It means picking a time in the evening, say 9 p.m., where you turn off your electronic devices for the night. No more emails, no more social media. You let the sun go down on your digital life so you can prepare for sleep.
That is brilliant. It helps you disconnect from the world and reconnect with your body before bed. It probably helps with sleep quality, too, avoiding all that blue light.
Definitely. Tool number 3, master the art of time blocking.
This is a productivity favorite. It means scheduling your day in blocks of time. But how does this help with focusing on yourself?
Well, most people schedule their meetings and their work duties, but they leave their personal time blank.
So, usually that time gets eaten up by distractions. That is so true. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen.
Exactly. So you need to block out time for yourself as if it were a meeting with your boss. Mark it as gym or reading or just doing nothing, and treat it as non-negotiable. You wouldn't cancel on your boss, so don't cancel on yourself.
Non-negotiable. That means it cannot be changed or discussed. I like that attitude. Tool number 4, find a no-outcome hobby.
We mentioned this earlier, doing things just for fun, but I want to emphasize the no outcome part. In our hustle culture, we always want a result. We want to be good at things.
Right. If I start painting, I feel pressure to paint a masterpiece.
The tool here is to deliberately choose something you are bad at, or something that produces nothing of value. Doodle, sing in the shower, build Lego. The goal is the flow state, that feeling where you lose track of time because you are so immersed in the activity.
That flow state is where true relaxation happens. Tool number 5, practice micro-mindfulness.
People get scared when they hear mindfulness or meditation. They think they have to sit on a mountain for an hour.
Exactly. But micro-mindfulness just means taking 2 minutes to check in with yourself. You can do it while waiting for the kettle to boil or sitting on the bus. Just ask yourself, how does my body feel right now? Am I clenching my jaw? Am I breathing shallowly?
It's just a quick scan to ground yourself in the present moment. To ground yourself means to return to reality and stop worrying about the future or past.
And finally, tool number 6, date yourself.
Yes, take yourself out. Go to a museum, a park, or a nice cafe. Treat yourself with the same kindness and generosity you would offer a partner. It teaches your brain that you are worthy of effort.
These are all such actionable tips. You don't have to do all of them at once. Just pick one and try it this week.
Baby steps. Small progress is still progress.
Well, Anna, before we wrap up, there is one difficult part we need to address. When you start focusing on yourself and setting boundaries, sometimes people around you don't like it.
That is true. If people are used to you always saying yes and always being available, they might be confused or even angry when you change. They might say, "You've changed," or "You're being distant."
That can be really hard to hear. It makes you feel guilty. How do you deal with that guilt?
You have to remember that you are not responsible for other people's reactions to your boundaries. If someone gets angry because you are taking care of yourself, that actually shows that they benefited from your lack of boundaries.
Wow, that is a heavy truth. So real friends will support your growth.
Exactly. A true friend will say, "I miss you, but I'm glad you are taking time for yourself." If someone makes you feel bad about it, you might need to reevaluate that relationship.
So focusing on yourself might actually help you filter your social circle. You end up surrounding yourself with people who respect you, not just people who use you.
Precisely. It's about quality over quantity.
Well, Anna, we have covered a lot of ground today, from social media envy to the joy of missing out and practical tips like journaling.
It's a big topic, but it's one of the most rewarding journeys you can take. To our listeners, remember, focusing on yourself is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice. It's a habit.
And don't be discouraged if you have a bad day. If you spend 3 hours scrolling on Instagram tomorrow, don't beat yourself up. Just acknowledge it, forgive yourself, and try again the next day.
That's right. Progress, not perfection.
We would love to hear from you in the comments. How do you focus on yourself? Do you have any special routines or hobbies that help you reconnect with who you are?
Yes, please share. We love reading your stories. Also, if you found this dialogue helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to Daily English Dialogues. It really helps us create more content for you.
And don't forget to check the description box for a list of the vocabulary words we used today, like validation, solitude, and boundaries.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Remember, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. Take care of it.
See you in the next episode.
Bye.